What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is March 21st of 2018. Well, folks, it's time for a daily update here on the DataDash channel. Today we have a lot of different interesting things to dive into. First and foremost, as always, though, we'll be taking a look at market valuations as well as doing some technical analysis on the market leaders. But outside of this, guys, we have some really interesting headlines to dive into. As you all know, the G20 summits have been underway, and we've had many of the leading central bankers, and international policymakers meeting together to discuss regulation in the finance space. And seeing as there's not going to be any decisive decisions on cryptocurrencies at this G20 meeting, it is important to look forward and see what the G20 has brought us in regards to information on where financial regulators could be heading over the next few months. So we'll be taking a look into that in the next few minutes. But along with that as well, Jack Dorsey, the co-founder and CEO of Twitter, coming out in support of Bitcoin as a long-term international internet currency. So we're going to be diving into this. A lot of positive news going on. Let's go ahead, though, first and foremost, and dive into the market. But before we do that, guys, I want to go ahead and share two things with you that I think would be really important to share. First and foremost, if you guys haven't joined already, we have opened up a Facebook group. I've gotten hundreds of requests by now. Many people who are saying this is well overdue on the Facebook group. And we already have over 1,500 people after having this up for less than 48 hours. So please go ahead and look up DataDash community, guys. Please feel free to join in on the community. We have over 1,500 people. Love to see you there. A lot of great information being shared. Along with that as well, I'm going to be speaking at an event in April. I'm going to be speaking in Chiang Mai, Thailand at the tokenomics event as a guest speaker at the event. So if you guys can make it, use the DataDash promo code right there in the photo on the website to buy your tickets. Hopefully I can see you guys out there. I'm really excited to go to Chiang Mai, Thailand. Never been there before. So it'll be an awesome place to talk about crypto and also be a guest speaker at the event. Really excited for it personally. So let's go ahead here and dive straight into market valuations, guys, because I've gotten really excited about the current stance on markets. Now, I know a lot of people would be eager to say, oh, Nick, you got to be wary of a dead cat bounce. You got to be wary of, kind of a short-term rally. But I got to tell you guys, we're starting to see a lot of interesting signals that are showing us that we're ready for another altcoin cycle. Whether it's going to happen today, tomorrow, or over the next week, we're getting into a position where there's enough cheap players in the market that are starting to show signs of moving to the upside. They're starting to show not only signs of being oversold, but also showing signs of being able to move much higher from where they are now. They're really signaling price strength confirmation, meaning we could be moving for the next cycle. So taking a step back here, we can see that we've regained about $75 billion of valuation over the past 2 or 3 days. And this is a really good sign for crypto markets. It shows that we're getting in a much more healthier position. And because of that, we could possibly see this as the bottom for the sell-off and correction. We've moved valuations quite low as well, guys. We really have to take a perspective here. Going from what I know, actually, I think the peak actually for the rally, it's not showing it here because we don't have a completely detailed layout here. I think we can take it here to January and get the highest one. So yeah, generally around $830 billion going all the way down to the low, $300 billion range to upper $200 billion range is a huge discount for crypto markets, flushing out a lot of the fake valuation that came in back in January and December. Because of that, we might be setting up for a more rational rise up to the upside with a lot of altcoins at really nice discounts. And going down to dominance as well, I want to talk about how, we've been keeping our eyes on Bitcoin dominance predominantly and seeing which one or what levels we could see Bitcoin dominance go to. So again, in the past, we were able to see Bitcoin dominance drop down, altcoins rise up to about 25%, and afterwards we had a nice steady correction. Again, continuing the cycle where Bitcoin regains dominance in a fearful market, and then altcoins continue to correct and flush out a lot of the overvalued players. Well, now at 45%, we've seen Bitcoin dominance start to stagnate, and other coins are starting to steadily gain. This is the biggest spike we've seen since the correction back in December and January after the big run-up. So because of that, could we be turning towards the next altcoin cycle? I know many people would be eager to think that, well, Bitcoin dominance could move a little bit higher, but on my opinion on this, guys, and what I'm being able to tell from all the data and all the trend analysis that I've been able to do is that Bitcoin dominance over time during these cycles continues to lose to other coins. As you see, over time, we not only had the stagnant drop back in early March all the way to June back in 2017, but we also had a very stagnant drop in December. And it's looking like we might be able to have another rally soon. Other coins are already starting to signal that strength and dominance, guys. So really keep an eye on that. If we come back to 45%, we might be looking more for Bitcoin, but it doesn't mean other coins, altcoins in the space, can't move up as well. So I think we're getting more towards a risk-taking period. Now, the one thing that I'm really watching for here to see if we're going to solidify a run up to the upside is we do need a signal of Bitcoin strength right now. We need a sense that Bitcoin can at least hold its price among one of the major moving averages. And right now, we are still hanging below that 200-day moving average. Now, this is good in the sense that I think generally when Bitcoin's under its 200-day, it's usually cheap. However, at the same time, I want to see this get above both the 50 and 200-day and find support, because many people are seeing that we might potentially see a death crossing where the 50-day crosses below the 200-day. But look how close it is and how it's starting to curve back up. We'll have to see if they'll be able to cross one another. But I think, if we continue to show price resilience and we don't get resisted at this 200-day, we could move much higher. Again, it is going to be one of the most determining factors in this market. Technically speaking, a death cross for Bitcoin like this in the regards to entire crypto markets is a serious indicator. So watch to see if that green line, if you guys have a 50-day on your chart, I don't know what color it is, but watch for that 50-day to cross the 200-day. If it does, we might be in for a pretty serious amount of sell side action for the next few days or weeks, maybe going back down to 6,000. But for now, it looks like the volumes come back in to a degree. We'll have to see if it can maintain itself and see if we can get that 50-day starting to curve up here. That would be really bullish, and in that case, I think it's more likely than not that we're going to see higher levels for Bitcoin. We just need a solid catalyst to get us above there. So next up, Ethereum BTC. Taking a look here, Ethereum holding still below that 200-day, below the support level at 6,800 Satoshis. Now, I will tell you guys, as much as I think this might be repeating history here, I think we're probably going to start, continuing to see lower levels here, probably test for another support level of the past. Again, this is getting in a much more cheaper area, much more reasonable area. We're down below the 200-day. We'll have to see where Ethereum goes from here, but I want to see it hold support somewhere. Okay, so it is getting cheaper, but I'm not looking to buy anything yet because it obviously didn't find support on the 200-day as we were looking for. XRP BTC, Ripple, again, still going to that 200-day. I have no doubt that's the case scenario for it, in my opinion, personally. Along with that, Bitcoin Cash. We go ahead here. I actually have my drawings off here. You can see here we're again seeing resistance here on the wedge. However, it's holding quite well here. I'm going to see if I can do a little bit more indications outside of just doing charting patterns here later on. If I find anything, I'll be sure to share it with you guys. But we're down below the 200-day as well as the 50 and 100-day as well. So this might be at a nice discount for a swing trade, but we'll have to see if this is going to find a way above the wedge. All right, along with that as well, Litecoin falling through the 50-day, guys. As much as this is still holding strong, I got to tell you, still feeling this is in the overextended range. There's a lot better players out there that aren't in the top players, the top kind of market leaders that really could propose some good opportunities. And I want to go through them today. As you all know, for example, you've probably seen on CoinMarketCap that Icon has gotten a massive jump in price, not to mention the highest day of volume since its exchange launch on Binance. Now, ironic enough, isn't it, that the largest day of volume for Icon since its exchange launch has been on the news of another exchange launch. So for those of you who are curious as to why Icon is leaping up, it's because BitThumb, the largest South Korean exchange, this is something I've been calling for a while in regards to Icon, has finally listed Icon. Now, why was it pretty predictable that they would list Icon? Well, Icon is the only lasting South Korean project right now. It was the only ICO that's actually been conducted in South Korea and has been not only supported heavily by the market, but along with it as well has gotten backing from a variety of sponsors and the South Korean government. So it's understandable why BitThumb feels safe listing Icon on there, not to mention why we're seeing such a positive reaction price. Now, keep in mind why this is big news, guys. I understand that this is already up 30%. And I wouldn't recommend you guys just leap into it because you start seeing it have green action. But I will tell you all this. If we can get above the 50-day, or if we can have a nice flag in regards to price action, maybe have a slight correction after the fast run up 30% up to the upside in one day, this could be a potential player to watch still. I don't think it's expensive. I don't think it's overly bought, maybe in the short term, but in the long term of things, again, I play the market cycles, guys. Look at the weekly here. We have had a variety of sell weeks just going off and off and off, and then finally one green week breaking out of a descending wedge. And again, if you think personally, which I do, that the Satoshi marking for Icon is going to go back past 9,000, then in this case, you still have a wonderful opportunity for the altcoin cycle that we possibly might get over the next few days or weeks or months. So in that case, I think Icon is still relatively cheap here. I'm already up on my investment position that I bought during the dip. And again, it goes to show, guys, when you buy in the lower end, that's the main objective. You don't have to use a lot of crazy TA. Already up in the trade. Surely didn't pick a bottom, but obviously Icon is looking strong here. Again, getting a bit thumb listing is not something to brush off, guys. There's a reason why it's up 30%. Along with that as well, ADA holding well here. It looks like it's not going to touch down towards that lower range, guys. If we continue to hold up here, if we get a close above 2,500 Satoshis, I think this is going to solidify Cardano for a nice run-up until we make contact with the 50-day. We'll have to see if it can get above there and hopefully find support. But until then, I still think ADA is cheap. We've got nulls as well. Going through here on the list, guys. Null is still holding well on the 100-day. And as we go across the market, guys, again, really just signaling signs of confidence. EOS blasting off, still holding the mass majority of its gains, flagging out. I mean, there's just a ton of players here that you guys can watch. Actually, it's building a little bit of a wedge here. So I'd keep an eye on the price action here and see what happens with EOS if it continues to climb here. This is a very clear wedge after a nice run up in price action along with some good volume coming in. So if the volume can maintain itself and we really start to see some more buy side action on these alts, guys, we could be setting up for a serious rally. Along with this, well, last one I want to talk about here is Qtum. Qtum doing well as well, along with EOS as well, having the huge prop up days. So we're starting to see this in a lot of these protocols, guys. Again, the name of the game is protocols. That's been the main thing that I've tried to push for the past few months, guys, is that these projects are what institutions are starting to buy. So hopefully we'll see this continue well. I don't know if it'll hold within this wedge and keep forming, but with these kind of rallies, with big volume behind it, you can see higher pushes afterwards. Okay, so that's enough TA, guys. Talked enough about price. Let's go ahead and jump into the headlines without conflicting it too much. The G20 summit. So we've been talking about G20 for the past few days. Actually, we've really been talking about some of the bankers like Carnet, who comes from the Bank of England, who is heading the G20 summit. We've been talking about them since all the way back in February. But the G20 summit has been a very positive event for cryptocurrencies. Again, people love to take anything that's coming up and turn it into a case to FUD, but sometimes it can aspire to be really positive news for the space. This is a perfect example. So what have we gotten out of the G20 summit? Well, talking on our last video, we know that the G20 has decided that at this meeting, they are not going to really listen or take any concern in regards to talks in regards to crypto regulation. And because of that, that means that for now, for the time being, there's not going to be any serious crypto regulation. They said that it accounts for less than 1% of GDP, and because of that, they're not taking any action on it. Understandable in that sense, but I think they're underestimating the effect of cryptocurrencies in the long run. Now, keep in mind, however, what we're going to talk about today is the forward thinking of the G20 summit. They didn't completely drop out the idea of continuing to talk about cryptocurrency regulation. And in fact, there's some good quotations here in this article from CoinDesk that I think are really important to take in. So, for example, we have a quotation here from the Argentinian central bank chair of their the central bank chair from Argentina. Really like this quote. In July, we have to offer very concrete, very specific recommendations on not what do we regulate, but what is the data we need. So in this case, it's not even talking about extensive regulation in July, as some people might take this. They might take it off the headline that they're going to continue regulation in July. What they're looking for is that in July, we need to have a concise understanding of what data we need to have a sense of understanding in these markets. So for example, being able to track possibly public blockchains, being able to get KYC requirements for ICOs, things like that that a government or bank need to partake in some degree in the sense of traditional legal, infrastructure, I guess, in the sense of trying to approach these crypto markets, which are so new and so hard to understand for a lot of people. Along with that as well, there's another good quote down here, and this goes again to speak on what the major focus is of the G20. At the G20, they need to talk in a sense of professional financial literacy in this sense. They need to talk in a sense where they're focusing on the real core issues that might arise with cryptocurrencies. Even though I don't think this is a big issue, I think, again, maybe this might be an issue with privacy coins. A lot of people are really concerned in the finance space about the implementations of money laundering. Now, this has been, I think, dispelled over time. Again, Bitcoin is not a good tool for it, guys. We've obviously seen JP Morgan still work, prefers cash over cryptocurrencies. But in this case, if you break through this quotation, they say FATF a lot. Basically, this institution is a financial institution that aims to help fight against money laundering and different criminal activities with money, avoiding taxes, things like that. So let's go ahead and read the quotation. We commit to implement to the FATF standards as they apply to crypto assets. Look forward to the FATF review of those standards and call on the FATF to advance global implementation. We call on international standard-setting bodies, SSBS, to continue their monitoring of crypto assets and their risks according to their mandates and assesses multilateral responses as needed. So a lot of complex jargon, guys, to really pretty much say that by July, they want to make sure they have the data sets in place to be able to keep over these markets, these new emerging crypto markets, to have KYC implementations, to have anti-money laundering practices in place so that all governments across the world can partake in those practices very easily. They can implement the standards very quickly. That's at least my interpretation of it. But it makes common sense in the sense of what I think some of the world leaders would want to do on an overbearing kind of macro level of cryptocurrencies. So I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, though. Do you think this is something we have to worry about, or is this just kind of business as usual in regards to traditional finance? I think it's some of the minimal efforts they're putting forward, and I think that they're going to ramp it up faster and faster as cryptocurrencies grow over time and they realize that it's much larger than they're potentially seeing it as right now. Now, on some more positive news, Jack Dorsey, the CEO and founder of Twitter, I have mixed feelings about Jack Dorsey, but I will say that all to him, he said some really positive things about Bitcoin. This is the big quotation that's getting tossed around. Bitcoin will overtake the dollar in importance as it becomes the single global currency of the internet within a decade. So, very bold claim by Jack, and much like how Pop is saying here on Twitter, the virus is spreading. We're getting all these original kind of VC tech guys into the crypto space. They're starting to see the vision, and they're starting to make the bold claims that I think many of us make ourselves. Now, keep in mind, the article here where there's the big quotation getting tossed around the Times here is something where you have to register an account, but someone was luckily nice enough on Reddit to bring the quotation here, so we'll go ahead and dive into it without having to register on the website. It's one of the most annoying things that article sites do. So, anyways, there's a few different things here. First and foremost, I think it's important to note that Square, which Jack Dorsey himself has founded, has started accepting Bitcoin as a means of transactions in regards to the Cash App that they have for Square payments. So that's already a first good step. It shows that Jack, as well as many people at Square, see the potential in regards to Bitcoin. One of the new leading payment solutions companies seeing the potential in Bitcoin is pretty positive news in regards to actual utility as a currency. But along with that as well, he has an idea that over the next 10 years, if not faster, we are going to see Bitcoin become a globally registered currency. It is going to be the main currency of the world. It is going to be one that is widely recognized across the world and is going to be not so much as what I guess Andreas says, which is the internet of money. The money for the internet is what he sees it as. So because of that, I think it's very, very interesting to see someone, talking about this. And not to mention, he does admit to some of the flaws that Bitcoin has. It's slow and it's costly, but as more and more people have it, those things go away. There are newer technologies that build off of blockchain and make it much more approachable. So this could be referring to a lot of things, Lightning Network, things like atomic swaps, all kinds of interesting tech and innovation coming on top of not only Bitcoin and other kind of simple peer-to-peer currencies, but also new DAG technologies like Ray blocks and IOTA. There's a lot of different innovations going on, along with Hashgraph as well. I forgot to mention that. But there's so many different plays of innovation here, guys, and it's a really exciting space. So again, I would say, as much as Jack Dorsey is probably not my favorite CEO, I have my differences with Jack Dorsey. I will say, in some positive speak, it's at least good to see someone who's found a very profound company like Twitter to see the potential in this. Not to mention a guy who runs one of the new leading payment solutions companies, Square. So good on Jack Dorsey for seeing the potential in Bitcoin. I agree with him on it, and I think he has a nice balanced view on it as well. Love to hear what you guys think, dude. Do you think Bitcoin will be a global worldwide currency, or do you share more of my personal vision where I think there's going to be a variety of different cryptocurrencies? I don't think it's going to be hundreds and hundreds that are well formed, but I think we'll at least have a few dozen across the world that really speak towards holding a sense of true valuation and a sense of value transaction. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, or if there's something I missed in the video, please leave it down in the comments down below, and I'll try to get to it in the next video or answer to your comments. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay tuned.